Well, welcome everyone to Lunch and Learn. We're glad that you're all here and so excited to have the art director from the Terra Studios. Her name is Wren. We're so glad she's here. She's going to talk to us about Terra Studios, which is outside of Fayetteville, some of the things that they do and what they have. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Rogers Public Library. We really appreciate you.
Gosh, I'm so excited and honored to be here. This is my family's legacy. Since 1975, it's been a very long process building this. I can't get all of it into just an hour's PowerPoint. So we're just going to kind of gloss over some stuff, and I'll try to give you some fun things that perhaps the world hasn't had much knowledge of to this day. So this picture here that we're starting with is actually the original grounds that the wards came to back in 1975. Very different looking today. You'll have to come out and see all the changes. This was a man-made pond. That field, all of that is now grown-up forest. So take a look when you can. All right, so starting off, this is just our quick facts. Of course, everybody knows our icon, the Bluebird of Happiness. We have sold over 9 million of them since 1982. What we like to call ourselves is exactly here what Rita has said. Rita is one of our original founders. A wonderland of art, the meeting of hand and heart. I think that right there just speaks to a little bit of who they were. So these days we are a 501c3 nonprofit. Our motto is using art to create a better world. Of course, we were founded by the Ward family in 1975. We are much more than the Bluebird. Right now we are a small staff of 5, including myself, taking care of 6 acres of art and the works of over 200 creatives. One of our main features now is our art gallery, which is displaying over 100 local artists just to the Northwest Arkansas area, and the classroom, which is my main gig. All right, so this is my connection to the Ward family. You see this picture here on the left. This is Leo. He's standing up. His wife is on the right there. That's Rita. And then my grandmother, my mother's mother, is there on the left. This is at my grandmother's house in Florida. In the summer times, I would come up and visit the Ward family. They would take me into their studio and just show off their creativity. And I wasn't the only person that got to do that. I would say that anybody who met them, they were happy to talk about their craft. They were happy to inspire others and share their ideas. And so really because of that influence that they shared with me, I went to an art college, Ringling College of Art and Design. I ended up with a bachelor's in illustration, which is just basically drawing in 2D world, but they left a lasting impression on me, so here I am now in the studio doing 3D work. I'm a sculptor these days. I can't say how happy I am to work with. I have a family I'm working with, even though Rita and Leah have passed on. My current coworkers are really like siblings to me. So here's a little bit about the Ward's history. Leo and Rita were married in 1950. This is in California. They had 3 children, Lynn, William, we call him Billy, and then we call John, Johnny. In 1975, they moved from California. They were English teachers, English professors. Rita had family out here, so they brought the family and decided to settle down. And originally, they bought 10 acres, and they started as a pottery studio. So this in 1975, it was all clay. But Leo was surrounded by creative friends who were starting to dabble in the glass world, so he picked that up himself. And then in the 1980s is when he started playing with the glass, and of course, Bluebird of Happiness. The first one was signed in 1982. Remember that phrase from the beginning, that wonderland of art, the meeting of hand and heart. The Wards were always looking to inspire, they were looking to experiment and just bring happiness and joy. We'll see some more of that. Terra means earth, which to me says even though they were creative, even though they were eccentric, they were down to earth. They loved reflecting just the organic nature of ideas and really getting into it. So Leo passed in 2017 and Rita passed in 2020. But a quote from the Democrat Gazette says that they were both remembered for their joyful art. Lynn and William are still around. They are retired artists doing their own thing, taking care of their families. Johnny, he is still active with us. He's just having fun. He doesn't have to do any managing or anything anymore, but he is one of the most prolific artists I know. If you get the chance, you should come see him because he is just producing every day. Very creative, very wacky, such a great personality. And so here is a picture of most of the wards. We start with, on the left-hand side here, that's Billy, and then his son Michael, Lynn there in the middle, Leo in the hat next to her, Johnny's the guy on the bottom, and then Nancy, which is William's wife, and then Rita on the right. So this was a photo from the 90s. And so here's just a few more pictures. I would say, so many hands went into making Terra, but the three integral characters were Rita, Johnny, and Leo. They were kind of the idea force behind it all. And so here's just some happy pictures of them in their environment. You see this postcard, which is up on the top right, that is actually from 2000. So at that point, they were married for over 50 years and had done 25 years of art. And then on the bottom there is, I actually don't have the exact origin of that. I could see in that kind of dark strip there, you can see some glass, and then this was pottery over here. So this might have been just when they were starting to blend the two crafts into their studio. And then this over here, this was one of Leo's one of his latest projects. He was working on some lamps to install in his home just for fun. And so you see all these kind of crazy squiggly cutouts here. It was a ceramic lamp, but he was going to put glass into it. I wish I had a photo for you, but again, just the crafts coming together, just crazy people. And of course, here's Johnny. He made that chair. Look how proud. He should be proud. And then I feel like this is just a delightful photo of Rita. Such a wonderful soul. Here's another article from the Democrat Gazette. They called themselves Father Zeus and Mother Goose. This is, of course, a picture of Leo working on glass. And then here's Rita and her craft, the ceramics with her well-known Terrans. I think if we're going to talk about the bluebirds, we cannot forget about the Terrans, which was Rita's side. So Leo says here, I have all the same stresses as anyone else who runs a business, but it pleases me that people find it idyllic here. That to me just says he was a hard worker, and pair that with, I want Terra to make people feel mystified by the experience. So he's definitely an eccentric fellow. One word to sum me up, unfinished, for sure. Of course, we're all unfinished, we're all changing and learning every day. So he was just a guy, just a human, just a crazy creative. So if you do want to read this whole article yourself, you'll just have to search for it, Father Zeus and Mother Goose, with the Democrat Gazette. This is just a portion from the first page of it. And so when they started Terra Studios back in 1975, they really got their going from selling out of craft fairs and craft magazines. They didn't really have much of a home gallery to sell out of yet. You can see here, these pieces over here are the first projects they did even before the Bluebird. And so funnily enough, this was all made from recycled glass cullet from a location that is now where the Walton Arts Center is at in Fayetteville on Dixon Street. So this is years and years ago, before all of that grew up. It would have looked very different. And I just love the hand-drawn nature of these ads. They were willing to get anything done. Somebody just had to do it. And I even love, this was exactly how they would have displayed the page. Somebody on there scribbled something out and wrote porcelain and changed the price. That's exactly how they would have displayed it to people. All right, and so here's just some old pictures of Terra. So this building here is actually where our Wizard's Cave is at. This is pre-existing the gallery that we're now mainly located in. And so this would have been one of the first buildings. This was our original Bluebird showroom. We now have that as a portion in our gallery, but this building is now our event center, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Here's the original gallery, just a slice of it. These down here, these are large pots that Johnny made all by himself. Here's a beautiful picture. We still have this sculpture garden. We still have this awesome dragon. And here's one of the many hundreds of people that worked at Terra. This guy, his name was Trent Talley. He was, of course, a potter, too. So, of course, Our big icon is the Bluebird of Happiness. In 2015, I believe it was, I might correct myself, we became a nonprofit, and of course this was before I worked there. We really adopted the phrase using art to create a better world. So at the time, our leaders made the decision to pause the Bluebird production until the glass industry can find a greener way of producing things. So in the meantime, our last push in 2020, we still have a Bluebird room, we still have tons of Bluebirds for sale. It's developing into different things. We've got several artists that are selling their own kind of Bluebird, including myself. It's still there, we just want to uphold to our mission using art to create a better world. And so here's some of the original glass goings on. We got a fellow named Gary Carter here. He was one of our main artists. Jack Harmon, of course, you can see he's a very talented Bluebird maker. These were old postcards from the early 2000s. This is a crucible where they're doing melting of glass, and you can see all this equipment here in our Bluebird Museum, which we do have one of every kind of bird and critter that went through production in that museum. And then this here, kind of hidden in the background, this green perfume vase here. This was done by Ron Minat. He's one of our original very talented glass makers. He still makes glass to this day. That's how he makes his living. He is also one of our board members, instructing us and helping us move forward. So that's by Ron Minat. You can see his work in our gallery. He did sell at Crystal Bridges for a while, too. All right, so how we started our new phase, we are, like I said, a small staff of 5. We are some new folks. We kind of have the duty of going back and retrieving. It was a very wild and happy place, but we have the job of going back and kind of picking up all these little pieces that were left to us as hints. We're in a new phase. Of those 9 million Bluebirds that we sold really brought us here. They were international. I left a note here that I took some myself. I went on a trip overseas to Tokyo and hid Bluebirds around. And I've heard other people doing the same in other countries. But now we still want to keep ourselves afloat. We know it's essential. I think it's necessary for the community. I have so many people come out and visit us just to relax. We are a free art park. And to keep that going, we've expanded our focus on classes and that event center I mentioned that is the previous Bluebird showroom. It'll be a safe place for people to hang out and celebrate without judgment. Just to reiterate the ways that we're advancing our mission to use art to create a better world, we offer fresher-free art classes. We showcase over 100 local artists at all skill levels. If you'd be interested in being one of our local artists, you can see Aaron at the gallery desk. Our Better World mural, which is one of our cool projects that we did when we started our nonprofit, invites everyone to share their voice and discuss a variety of philanthropic topics. You can see that when you walk into our gallery. And again, I don't have any sneak peeks because I want you to come see it. But that is a significant mural hanging at the top of our gallery. I believe that it's a healing space, and I cherish those stories. I cherish the stories that the guests bring in, and they trust us enough to share their feelings. So on our grounds, like I said, I'm just going to give you a sneak peek of things today. We have a labyrinth. We have that pond I showed you at the very beginning. It's gone through a few phases and has some different structures around it now. Most of our acreage is dedicated to a forest, where the beginning of the forest project was back in the day when, artists have to make tons and tons of art to get to the right one, to get to the one that they enjoy. But that leaves behind a lot of broken pieces, a lot of unfinished pieces that might not have been something that goes in a gallery. And so Leo and Rita started putting that stuff outdoors in our forest. So now our forest is full of all these crazy critters and just ideas, kind of like a sketchbook in 3D form that you can check out in our forest. So that is still there. You can walk around, and a few other places. I mentioned our museum. You can see all of our old equipment and glass art. Of course, we've got our bluebirds in there, but we've got redbirds, we've got yellowbirds, we've got snails in the museum. And then the classroom, which is attached to the gallery currently, that is all my shindig. We do a majority of ceramic sculpture. We don't currently have any wheel classes, but we're hoping to expand to that in the future. We have a stained glass artist that's teaching. We're going to have painting classes soon. We have collage classes, and just recently I have been asked to come out to the libraries, and I've been doing crafts at the libraries just off campus. We have events, we have a yearly chess tournament, we have what's called our Pause, Paint, and Play. That's our most recent event coming up, which is a dog-friendly celebration. We'll have food trucks and music and activities for the dogs and their dog owners. We always do Labyrinth Day every year. We encourage everybody to come out and walk the labyrinth and just have a moment of peace. Every year we do our artist auction in either the fall or the winter. And we have open enrollment classes once a month where if you can't get a group together, you're like, I just need an activity to do by myself and nobody wants to come with me. Well, then you can join us in one of our open enrollments with a single ticket seat. And our cool music room, we'll see a little sneak peek of that. We just had this massive instrument donated to us. And it's a very special thing, so we do only open our music room during events. But if you have that musical intuition, you're welcome to come in on those days and play around with our instruments. Of course, the event center will be available for weddings and anything else that anybody's thinking. If we have time, I will come back to these two articles here. KUAF did a wonderful interview just earlier this year. It has my coworkers Erin and Emma and even Johnny. They took part in that interview. Hidden in the beautiful Ozark Mountains, just east of Fayetteville, is a 6-acre art park. Of course, that explains it very simply. So if we have time, we'll go listen to that. We also have this. I just thought this is so charming. So Andy Baird, he's just a blogger on the internet, stopped by when we had our restaurant in the late 90s. We had a restaurant, and he decided that it was cool enough to talk about it. And so if we have a chance, we'll go to a blast from the past and check out his charming insights on the Otis Sark restaurant. If you didn't know, this is our 50th anniversary. All of my coworkers and I believe that Terra is a living, breathing creation. That's why it's just the nature, it explains the nature of it, why it's so organic but fun. So if you have the chance, come celebrate that with us on October 11th. That's all day. It's a free event. It's going to be the biggest celebration we've had in years. It'll be very akin. For a while, we did music festivals out on our grounds, and we're trying to reach that level again. So, of course, Terra is a land of stories. It's guided by love of fantasy and whimsy. We're always looking for new ways to share that, to engage with the community, to spark joy. We're going to have more interactive projects ahead. But we were founded on interactive projects. One of our locations on the grounds is, we call it the Troll Hole. It's actually our outdoor restrooms, but you'll get a chance to see every tile on the outside of that building was painted by somebody different. And there's lots of projects like that around the ground. So that is just an emphasis to our art classes, what we believe in art education. In every class, every activity, people are getting to tell their own stories and realize their own creative potential. You're not allowed to say that you can't do art at Terra, because everybody's got some kind of creativity, and what you come up with, you just accept it and you say, yeah, that's pretty neat that I made that. Speaking of teaching, one of my favorite individuals at Terra, my Aunt Rita. So as a teacher, I feel it's my job to continue her storytelling legacy. She's written it in so many places. It was always her goal to bring back the magic. Nobody's allowed to say they can't do art because everybody's creative somehow. It might come out in a different form, but you are creative. So I wholeheartedly believe in that mission. I think it talks to using art to create a better world, to make us all feel confident about ourselves. So I'm going to try to introduce you to some of her sweetness. I think that she is still with us in her way. So this is one of my favorite pictures of her. You see how large this is. She had a project called her Gratitudes. So they were very peaceful figures, and they were a meditative force for her so that she could have gratitude for the world. So this is, I believe, her largest gratitude she ever made, and it was just about being thankful for what she had. So these kind of evolved from one of her first projects, her Terrans. Of course, in this slide, we get to see the Terrans. These are some of the first Terrans. She started making them as kind of a novelty to sell at her craft fairs, and then she realized, wait a second, these guys are these guys are inspiring me. They have a story behind them. So she sold a couple of these Terrans at her fairs, and then she decided, they're all mine. So they live at Terra Studios, and you can see them, and maybe if you listen quietly, you'll get to hear them tell you stories. Maybe, I don't know. It depends on how crazy you are. But I just think this is interesting. So another place that they started before the studios itself, and Johnny even talks about this, sitting around at War Eagle trying to sell their ceramics. So here is the original story that actually permeates all of Terra. This really kind of is the original story that Terra represents. Terra, a place where the line between magic and ordinary reality is very thin. So Delwyn, the wizard, he shared his hopeful prophecy with the character that Rita created, Otis Zark. He was the Terran leader. And one by one, these Terrans came from another world into ours. They brought good feelings and creativity back to the land. And as the Terrans arrived, so did the endangered species from other worlds. They have made Terra their sanctuary because they know that with the Terrans watching over them, they will be safe and protected. So we could kind of see ourselves as endangered species in our own ways, or Terrans coming to visit Terra and feel safe and protected. I think that was Rita's whole point. So the Wizard's Cave we have, which is my favorite location on the grounds. It was named for Delwyn the Wizard. You just have to kind of imagine that he's in there, but you can see Rita's favorite critters. They are living in the Wizard's Cave. Her poetry book, there's a poem for each of her original critters. We're going to listen to some of those poems today, and if you have a chance, if you want to see it in person, you'll just have to see it in the cave. It was built, and a lot of the structures on the grounds were built using a technique called Pharaoh cement. And when I was little, I thought like P-H-A-R-O-H, Pharaoh? But no, it's actually F-E-R-R-O. And it's this very sturdy, strong mix of plaster and cement. And you basically build yourself a rebar and chicken wire frame. It just looks like a frame box. And you can use that stuff to sculpt over it. It makes it super sturdy. You could paint it whatever color you want. They actually use this technique a lot in theme parks. So that's how you get a bunch of crazy stuff. And so here's a picture of that. Of course, here's the book, living on this little plinth. A little bit about Rita, and you can come see all of those guys in the cave. And so here is the front and back cover of her book. She did this in the late 80s, but she had been collecting these critters for a long time before she did it. I absolutely love the Tolkien font that she chose. Shows you some of her influence, right? Tolkien, I think, and Jim Henson would be big influences for the Ward family. I just love this. Caretakers of endangered species, there they are. This is her introduction to the book, and I love how simple this is. Just don't forget to smile. She really always intended the best for everybody that she met. We'll listen to a few of her poems. She's got a character in here called Grandma Bogglewomp, and for a while before she passed, she actually had a studio called Bogglewomp. And actually where I live is the original grounds for that studio. So if I look on Google, this is telling you a little bit about myself, but if I look on Google, Google still says that I live in Bogglewomp. I think, really and truly, because she carried that character with her, I think Grandma Bogglewomp was Rita. I think that was her interpretation of herself. So here's the bagel lump. We'll go ahead and listen to this guy.
The bagel lump. Bippity bump, bippity bump. It's fun to play with a bagel lump. Rippity red, rippity red. It's fun to throw balls through his head. Flippity fling, flippity fling. It's fun to hear him laugh and sing. Tippity tense, tippity tense. It's fun to watch him smile and dance. Dippity deet, dippity deet. It's fun when he gives you bagels to eat. Bippity bump, bippity bump. Oh, it's fun to play with a bagel lump.
One of my favorite things too is just the silly little, it definitely dates itself, the little synth tunes before every one of the poems. So good. Friendly Frederick Fieldenkraut.
Friendly Frederick Fieldenkraut. Friendly Frederick Fieldenkraut stopped by to talk one day. We talked from 10 to 4 o'clock. We had a lot to say. He asked me many questions about things from in my past. He listened most attentively. His knowledge seemed quite vast. I so enjoyed his visit, I was sad to see him go. I asked him if he had to leave. He paused and then said, "No." So if you come to visit me, you'll have a lovely treat. There'll be a lot of things to see, and Frederick, you can meet.
I want him to be my friend. And then here we have Grandma Bogglewomp. This is the last poem in the book.
Grandma Bogglewomp. She's a credit to her species, this special little lady, and she loves to tell you stories under trees, cool, green, and shady. When she isn't baking biscuits or icing angel cakes, she'll give you her attention and say, "For goodness sake." She makes you mind your manners, tells you not to lie or steal, and can by just a little look know exactly how you feel. Yes, she's always quite concerned about your feelings and your health. She gives to you what cannot be bought for any amount of wealth. The poems are done, but the endangered species from other worlds have a lot more to say. Drop in for a visit, but don't forget to smile.
I have very strong memories from my childhood listening to that. Besides the Wizard's Cave, we have everything else that I mentioned. Here's our labyrinth, and you'll get to see the two lads who made this labyrinth together one summer in the early 2000s. We are actually listed on an international labyrinth site for this structure, and people recommend you come out and take a peaceful walk. Here's some of Rita's flower children. This is one of our project pieces that we've got to get a name for. I'll talk about that project a little bit soon. One of our many cool sculptures that we've got. This here is a portion from a wall that Rita put together in her mind. It's made of glass and ceramic. And then we call these guys the turtle riders. They are actually hanging out in our pond. So here's a picture of our gallery. And actually, this artist here is the glass artist that would be your teacher if you could come out and take a class with us. Beautiful stuff. And then our Bluebird showroom is around the corner, huge, you can't miss it. But that's just a sneak peek of our gallery. And then here's that giant instrument I mentioned earlier. We call it the Celeste. And that is tucked away in our Wizard's Cave. You can see that during events. Like I said, here's the two fellas that made our labyrinth. I'll go back a little bit. See how there's forest now, but this was back in around 2005. This is Jason and Michael. They are William's sons, and they got together to lay this stone by stone. Just a little bit, because of course Billy and Lynn were involved. Billy did a lot of metalwork, so he did all of the lantern structures in the gallery and what was previously the restaurant. So this is just one piece of his work, and then this lovely lion here is one piece of Lynn's work that you can see on the ground. That's also, this is actually just above our counter. You can see he's hanging out up there. I love that piece. So I want to talk about Johnny because I think he is one of our most important characters there. He's still there, like I said, he's in the studio all the time. He has over 50 years of experience throwing pottery and building. He actually has a BFA from the U of A. He got that just in studio arts. He's most famous for his large-scale pottery. We saw a picture of that, but they literally, they come up this tall. He learned how to do that, throwing it all by himself. He has published several comic books, so if you have a chance to look up And Then There Was Duck, that was published by Johnny amongst a couple of books about his character, Harold the Duck. We'll see him a little bit. His work extends even beyond Terra and all that I've mentioned. He was one of the main workers on Wilson Park, if you're familiar with that, in downtown Fayetteville, the castle. And here's a quote from him. "So how does a grown man start generating cartoon ducks? Actually, I created my first duck quite by accident. In the midst of one more craft show, I realized I had burned out on pottery. My mother, a master clay artist herself, suggested that I make something just for fun. Oddly, Harold created comic relief in the most real sense. In fact, I discovered that ducks tickled me, and now I simply want to share that joy with others." So I think that even though this is a bit silly, it's still very adjacent to what Leo and Rita were thinking about, just entertaining people, making people feel relaxed and having fun. So that is also a part of Terra Studios. And so this is him. This was actually him just last week in the studio. Here's a picture of Harold, one of his most closely knit characters that he's got to himself. Here he is when he was younger, throwing a large pot. This is from a very old article that Terra published for its business in a little pamphlet. So these large pieces here, they're actually at the front of our gallery now. They're still here. That's still the gallery that we have working. And he had an enthusiasm for cars. He's kind of a car guy. So he started combining his ducks and his cars together. And so the first one that he did was in 1980. It's a little tough to see here, but this is a little duck driving a police car. And of course, he's John. He's my cousin Johnny. Love that guy. And so, like I said, there's no way that I could get all of this, all of Terra can be combined into 1 hour. We are a place built on community. It's been 50 years, over 200 people coming together to make this place. And we're hoping for another 50 years of being community with people and teaching and sharing. I'll show you a couple of gifts. And again, we wouldn't exist without our community base. We had a couple of recent gifts, including the repairs to our Bluebird gazebo, which was a donation. The Bluebird gazebo originally was donated to all the artists who built them. There's over 1,800 bluebirds in there, so we want to keep them safe. So somebody generously donated a repair to that roof. And then our pond that I've mentioned, it's a very special location to us. We recently had a large windmill put in, and that was a donation to help aerate the pond. So there's the Bluebird gazebo. Isn't that lovely in the sunlight? Over 1,800 birds in there. And then it says right there, of course, we all know the Bluebird is iconic. They made everything possible. This is dedicated to that and the workers. And then here's our windmill. This was just installed a couple of weeks ago as well. Silly little tea set here, the bear and the girl. That's, of course, a Rita piece. And I actually had to recently replace the teapot. So you can't really see it too well in this picture, but that teapot was my hand. So next year, we know how special Terra is, and as a new generation of 5 young people, we're going to really start documenting our history. We're going to put labels around the grounds with the names of the artists and their titles if we can get a hold of that. We want people to be recognized. Our 3 main people, Rita, Leo, and Johnny, we depend on them, but we depend on every other hand that came here. So if you do happen to know anybody who was previously associated with Terra, please take a picture of my slide at the end and reach out to us. We'd love to talk. So here's some more about our classes, which I brought just a fraction of what you can do up here. And at the end when we're asking questions and things, feel free to come up and pick them up and talk about them. So you can see our website for more heavy information on these classes. But I am the main teacher. I teach all the ceramics, our painting and our collage and our stained glass classes are some other teachers that we host. But I'm the main teacher. We do single session classes, and we do post open enrollments, and we post private classes. So you get private classes by appointment, and then open enrollments, you just buy a ticket. One of our most recent classes we introduced was this fairy door. It's actually one of my favorites. And we will soon have a snail class by popular request. So here's some pictures from our current studio. This was a collage class. Here we had a bunny class, all kinds of little critters. And this was actually a special setup that we did for a very large group that wanted to build dragons. So we did a little bit of special arrangement for that, and that all fits within the classroom. We are open Wednesday to Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our grounds are always free to visit. If you're able, we ask that you just drop $1 in one of our donation tanks, or if you feel that you need it, you can speak to us at the register. We can do it digitally. If you are able, dogs are always welcome outdoors. Tours are available by appointment. You can call or email us. You can ask about our classes, our new event center. Emma, my director, is in charge of the event center information. If you have any questions at all, you can reach out to Terra Studios at terrastudios.com, or you can call us at 479-643-3185. Of course, Facebook and Instagram. Who doesn't have it these days? Terra Studios. Our website is usingart.org. So let's see. Anybody want to get pictures there? Anybody have any questions before I take us to, we will listen to the KUAF. What's up?
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Did you say you're not making the Bluebird of Happiness anymore?
Correct. We are paused on that. It's still our trademark, but we're looking for a greener way to do that. We're really depending on the glass industry. They're getting close, but we're dependent on that so that we can uphold to our mission.
And the second question, did you say you're going to be doing classes here?
We're doing classes actually in the studio that I had pictured.
Okay.
So if you have the chance, you can come out there and see us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a picture of your cafe booths?
You're just gonna have to come out to see them.
Well, I did, and they're so amazing. I'd love to see a picture again.
I know, I apologize. I don't have any pictures with me today, but we have 5 or 6. I'm there every day. But each cafe booth is a clear top table with little critters on the inside, and was uniquely designed by a separate artist. So we have our painter booth, we have our sculpture booth, we have our glass booth, and that was done with ferro cement. So it's kind of overwhelming, to be honest. Wonderfully overwhelming. And this up here, speaking of the booths, this is, I believe, the only remaining menu we have of the Otis restaurant. Feel free to come up and take a look at it. Just be careful as you're flipping the pages. It's full of all kinds of illustration. Actually, one of our partners, if you've ever heard the name Eugene Sargent, he's done works across the Fayetteville grounds. He worked putting this menu together back in the 90s. So he's part of that. So please do feel free to come up and take a look at this. I wish I could have some of these things that are in here. The words were always changing. I don't know if you got the chance to read, but they went through so many different phases, as Leo said himself. He's unfinished. They tried building their own schools in California that was kind of their philanthropic effort to spread education in a creative way. And this is just where they made their home. This is where they finally settled down and had a project that stuck. Any other questions? Yeah.
You said that the first Bluebird was signed.
Yes, 1982.
Are they all signed, or was it just that first one?
Oh, the majority of our Bluebirds are signed. Once it got going, Leo hired other artists on to blow them. So he was not the only Bluebird maker once it took off. And he trained everybody the best he could, but of course art is art, and sometimes we get what we call seconds. So the Bluebird makers look at him and say, I could have done better on that one. And they would consider that a second. It would be put aside. We still have some seconds. And they're sold at a discount, but they are not signed. All the better Bluebirds, the firsts, are signed.
When did they start varying from just the blue to other colors?
In the early 80s, Leo was just interested in glass as a medium. It was starting to become available to, glass kind of traveled funny. It was a little sluggish getting to our country. Of course, we think of like Italy and stuff for glass. But it was a little sluggish, kind of opening itself up to smaller scale artists. In the 80s, he had an opportunity with being with the right crowd that he was able to start experimenting with glass. So in the early 80s, even a little bit before that, he was doing all of this stuff here in the green. And that was just with whatever varied colors he could get from the recycled glass he was getting. There's a legend that brown glass is the easiest color to achieve just with heat and all of that. So he started, after he was playing with all this, he wanted something more structural. He started making birds, and he had brown glass. So he started with a little, sweet little brown bird. I wish I could tell you where it was at. But Rita turned to him and said, you know, the eastern bluebird is native to our area. Why don't you try making a little bluebird? So he experimented and got the bluebird out of that, and that was the one that stuck.
And it's a kind of a unique color too, so is that part of it, the glass making, getting the color into it, or that, I don't really understand that.
Yeah, so the blue glass is actually made with a special amount, like a special pure copper content. I'm not a chemist, so I don't know the full story, but they had to get a super pure copper content into the silica that they were melting down. And so that actually came from, I believe, the mine in northeast Arkansas just happened to be the right content they needed for their chemicals. So they mined it from there and bloop.
Is that the problem with the glass? I didn't understand.
That's a part of it, but it's also the gas emissions. I mean, these things are belching out heavy CO2. So, and unfortunately, it's not a process that you can say, okay, here's my time frame that I'm just gonna do this and calculate how much I've created. The nature of it is that it's running 24/7. You can't slow it down.
So cullet, C-U-L-L-E-T, that's, what is that?
So the cullet actually was basically, it's like we use in this here. This was pre-made glass. This is recycled bluebirds that gets crushed down into little pieces. You can use that stuff and melt it, or you can make glass from scratch. So the cullet is just a recycled glass.
Okay.
Take a peek at this article here, just so that you can see a bit of that restaurant. So look at this, it dates itself. There's a bluebird, woohoo! So let me see if I can zoom in on anything. We do have our trash trolls. I love that they decided that the trash cans needed to be alive. This guy here, I wish we still had him. So clever. You were standing, waiting to be seated, and you flip his nose on, like, gee. You see, here's one of the booths, and that lamp that's hanging out in the front here, this, innovative. See, you can see this little red bulb here. In the day, each one of the tables was wired. And so if you needed service, you just flip your little red bulb on, and then somebody would come help you out. But that was designed by Billy Ward. He did all the lanterns. And then this was, I believe this was a Minat piece. Another thing that Leo was really big on, and we still have some pieces from him. Leo loved paperweights. This is a Minat paperweight, but lots of paperweights. We'll go ahead and listen to this article here so that you can hear some of my coworkers and hear what Johnny thinks of the place today.
Large, hidden in the beautiful Ozark Mountains just east of Fayetteville, is a 6-acre art park. Terra Studios, a nonprofit organization devoted to creating a better world through the power of art. Ozarks at Large's Elizabeth Hayek tells us more about its story.
Within the grounds of Terra Studios, visitors will find whimsical sculptures, interactive murals, gardens, galleries, art classes, and more. The space is free and open to the public, and is designed to inspire creativity in people of all ages. It was founded in 1975 by artists Leo and Rita Ward, along with their son John, who explains that it all started when the family was forced to leave California after the city prohibited them from making pottery and blowing glass in their backyard.
My dad and mom said, we're going to go somewhere where we do whatever we want to. So you can imagine 50 years ago, they came to Arkansas, they could do whatever they wanted to do. So they bought their land here, pulled in a trailer, and that summer, we came out and my dad framed the original studio.
Since opening, the Ward family has created a wide range of artwork for Terra Studios and has supported hundreds of artists in doing the same, transforming it into a one-of-a-kind art park.
You know, it's very special when you have a lot of artists coming together in one spot and making art that then is left in that spot wherever they look around here. Some person, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, maybe yesterday, made a piece of art.
John says this layered legacy is what makes the space meaningful.
There are new things that happen, and then sometimes it's about our inheritance. And so just art itself is a very, very large ocean.
Which found its current in 1983 when Leo and Rita started crafting something small but powerful.
My dad and mom started Bluebird of Happiness. The wonderful thing was it was very successful.
The business turned into an international hit, and since then, Terra Studios has produced over 8 million bluebirds. The Wards took that money and gave it right back to Terra and the community.
We probably represent more than 100 different artists' works that are here on the grounds that happened because we could pay those people to come and do different things.
Even though Leo and Rita Ward have passed, their legacy is deeply rooted within the grounds of Terra Studios.
Their spirit is not gone from this place by any means.
Inside the gallery building, a calm, sunlit space features an array of artwork including paintings, pottery, blown glass, to practical works like jewelry, soaps, and seasonal gifts. Purchases directly support local artists and help fund the studio's mission. One of the forces behind the gallery is Erin Kent, gallery coordinator at Terra Studios. Erin Kent was hired almost a year ago, and she works directly with the artists, arranging and displaying their works, maintaining the gallery space, and assisting customers. Kent is also an artist herself.
Beauty is an inspiration for me as an artist. The world has a lot of darkness and, hard corners, but when I'm out in nature, I feel at home.
She says the joy of Terra Studios is not just about art, but
the entire atmosphere here is just joyful, it's peaceful, it's magical, and it really touches on your inner child. And I say that this place is for all ages and for everyone. Like, we're a free art park, and there's not many places, I think, in the world quite like this.
Kent says she has hope for the future and wants to share a message to people who doubt their creativity or potential.
Most people just learn young to be super critical and think that if I'm not this, then I can't be an artist. But it's my belief that if you want to create art or anything creative, you are an artist. You don't have to be good to make art. And every great artist has made bad art.
She says it's all part of the process and wants visitors of Terra to feel inspired by the art.
It's human to be creative, whatever medium or method that can be. There's so many different ways to be creative. But I want people to come here and feel like art is achievable and accessible in all the ways, whether it's purchasing an art item or creating one too.
Kent was born and raised in Northwest Arkansas and started coming to Terra Studios as a kid.
So it's very special to me. I have core memories visiting, seeing the birds being made, but it's kind of a full circle experience to actually be here, work here, and be part of it.
Terra Studios has a variety of experiences, from quick art classes to live music and community events. Classes are designed for all ages and skill levels. Terra Studios art director Wren helps teach different types of pottery classes. John says, regardless of age.
But Wren just handles them, whether it's little kids, she'll have little teeny kids, and then she'll have retired people coming in, but she just can roll with anybody. She's an incredible teacher.
Art is therapy, art is joy, art is human, and those classes really help share that with people.
Emma Houston is the executive director of Terra Studios. She says they're going to be reopening their event center soon, something that's been a work in progress.
We have kept the charm of the place, and we have renovated some areas that needed some charm.
This event center is open to the public, but people can throw private events.
So we will be opening pretty soon to
everything from birthday parties to baby showers to weddings. So we're really, really excited about that new opportunity to offer people. Terra Studios is a place where people can come together, celebrate, learn, and connect through creativity. Whether it's a private event or a public class, every experience is shaped by the joy of artistic expression.
All right, so sums it up perfectly, I think, everything that I said. Thank you, everybody. It's who that makes us.